Alright people, welcome to another video in our Mitre-Attack series. Today we are going to take a look at scheduled tasks or scheduled jobs. That's technique 1053. So this is a relevant technique. It's a very simple way to get persistence. But one step after the other as usual. Let's copy the whole page over here and then take a deeper look. So I hope it looks somewhat okay. Yeah, that's somewhat okay. Let's switch to reading mode. We even have a little bit of a space for the other side. Okay, so scheduled task, scheduled job. We have 5 sub-techniques. But this time we are not going to make a video for each of the sub-techniques. I glanced over them. These are all scheduled jobs, what you see here. So there is tools like ATT is a tool, there's a software. Cron, that's a Linux specific scheduled task, that's a Windows specific, that's how it's called in Windows. Systemd timers is again Linux, and container orchestration, as you might guess, that has something to do with container, cloud computing and so on. So container orchestration you will find in Docker, I would assume. So the idea is always the same, and obviously if you are a detection engineer, go into these sub-techniques. If you have a Linux system, and then they will tell you exactly how to do it for cron job for Linux. But yeah, that's so far so good. Here in the kill chain step or tactic, it's execution, persistence and privilege escalation. All 3 things. So yes, a scheduled task can be part of privilege escalation. So then we have the platforms here. It's containers, then it's ESXi, Linux, Windows, macOS. So it's everything that runs software pretty much. We have some contributors here. Alan Homewood, Insomnia Security. I heard this name already. Insomnia Security. Somewhere I read this name. Who else do we have? Brian Campbell, Prashant. They are from Palladion. Never heard these. Yes, so some of these names most of them I don't know, but Insomnia Security, yeah, I heard about that one. Now let's see what they write here. So adversaries may abuse task scheduling functionality to facilitate initial or recurring execution of malicious code. Yeah, it's recurring execution most often, so you can set up a beacon like this. But there are smarter ways to set up a beacon. Then utilities exist within all major operating systems, and those are the sub-techniques here. To schedule programs or scripts to be executed at a specific date and time. That's interesting. So specific date and time to be executed at specific date and time. So now you might think it's easy to catch it. It's every day at 0 o'clock there will be a beacon. Well, it's not that easy. So at least for, let's say, the cron jobs here, you can add variety if you want to. So you can tell the cron job to pick a random time in a certain interval, and it will do so. So these things are pretty smart. So it's not like a simple to catch recurring activity. It's a bit more than that. But yeah, so what else do we have? A task can also be scheduled on a remote system, provided the proper authentication is met. RPC and file printer sharing in Windows environments. Okay. Scheduling a task on a remote system typically may require being a member of an admin or otherwise privileged group on a remote system. Yes. So scheduled task, you can do that on your Windows machine. It's called auto start features here. Scheduled tasks you can find too. And you will be surprised how many auto start and scheduled tasks are running on your machine that you are not aware of. And what I did in the past is on Windows machines that are running for a longer time, um, you have these issues that scheduled tasks, they pile up, the machine feels slow. That's how it used to be back in the day. Um, yeah, and obviously it helps to wipe your systems every now and then. Even perfectly running systems, if you just wipe them and freshly set them up, even without a thread, just as a routine, um, this is one way to periodically get rid of scheduled tasks, periodically get rid of a whole lot of stuff. But it's effort for that reason. Bigger companies are not doing it. The administrator has better things to do than setting up systems that are perfectly running. You all have heard the saying, never touch a running system. I would say you should very well touch running systems to keep them running. And from a cyber perspective, that makes a lot of sense to newly and freshly set up a perfectly running system. Um, yeah, at some point this practice will get into the heads of the people our industry, and they will do that. But as of now, the society is not at that point. Okay, then adversaries may use task scheduling to execute programs at system startup or on scheduled basis for persistence. These mechanisms can also be abused to run a process under the context of a specified account. Yes, such as one with elevated permissions and privileges. Yes, of course. So if you want to run certain scripts, you need privileges on that. Then similar to system binary proxy execution, okay, that's another technique we might take a look at. System binary proxy execution. Let's mark that one down. System binary proxy execution. There we go. There we go. Adversaries have also abused task scheduling to potentially mask one-time execution under a trusted system process. Yeah, sounds like a living off the land stuff. Trusted system process. Yeah, so far so good. So now we have a little bit of an idea what we are dealing with here. Now let's go to the next page and look a little bit at what evil hackers used that already. Procedure examples we have one. Interesting. Well, let's copy it like this. Yeah, so that's why we copy mitigations as well. Yeah, let's go back to reading mode then. So we have here procedure examples exactly one. That's a bit weak, so I think there's a research potential here. So it's one software, LokiBot. And LokiBot's second stage DLL has set a timer using time set event to schedule its next execution. Yes, there's more room. All hacker groups at some point used scheduled task, I believe. And then what do they say about mitigation? So you can do the audit. Toolkits like PowerSploit framework contain power-up modules that can be used to explore systems for permission weakness. Yeah, then operating system configuration. So configure settings for scheduled tasks to force tasks to run under context of the authenticated account instead of allowing them to run as system. Yeah, that's good. These system accounts, they are really annoying in the SOC. You don't have a username behind them. As a result, you don't know who to contact in case of emergency. So these system accounts, they are all over the place usually. It's like a plague. There's not much you can do about it. Then we have privileged account management. So yeah, configure the increased scheduling priority options to only allow the administrators group the rights to schedule a priority process. This obviously control who is allowed to do that. Scheduled tasks should only be done by administrators, never by the user itself. At least on your servers, on the clients most often as well. Okay. Then restrict file directory permissions. Restrict access by setting directory and file permissions that are not specific to users or privileged accounts. Restrict something that is not specific to users or privileged accounts. Yes, exactly. So again, these system accounts, they shall not. Let's mark the system account here. Run as system. Like this. And administrators, they don't want to run stuff on their name. So what is the reason to run on system? Well, the fluctuation of employees and companies. Okay, so your administrator is working there for 1.5 years maybe, and then he switches his job. So this is your typical bad work environment, where workforce is worked down after 2 years and they quit jobs. So this is how you spot terrible workplaces where people cannot endure a long time of working. In consulting, where I work, this is extreme. So here we have like a typical rotation times of under 2 years. Okay. In traditional family companies, small to mid-size, people are starting at 18. Okay, so they do an apprenticeship after school, 16, 17 years old, 18 years old, and they start at 18, 19 to work there, and they go into retirement in that company. So these traditional family-owned smaller companies, they exist out there, and this is where you wouldn't have much reason to use system accounts. But when the rotation is high, you don't want to put the process on Joe's privileged account, because when Joe switches his job, all of these scheduled tasks, the moment you delete the account, they stop working. And that causes a big headache. So that's why people are using these almighty system accounts. So there is no simple solution to that. I mean, what can you tell the company? Increase the attractiveness of your job so that people don't go away so fast. It's not even the attractiveness. It's how people are being treated in their job. Okay, so if this very stressful environment where nobody cares about your well-being, where you're treated like a machine, well, this is when you leave the job quickly. And but yeah, that's a topic for another video. But mental health in your job, I think that's very, very important. And when you see a company where they use a lot of system account scheduled jobs, that's an indicator for something. Technically, you can just say, okay, that's dangerous, but what does it say about the company? Well, exactly that what I just pointed out. Okay, so far so good. Let's take a look. So we now know a little bit of the mitigation, and now we have just one simple page, and this is it. So we have only, but that's okay. I mean, people need to, this is their research. If they think that 6 sources do the job, they can do that, obviously. So like this. Let's go back to reading mode, and detection strategy is the text creation or modification of scheduled tasks using stasks exe. Yes, the whole exe things you can monitor for that exactly. Under that you have the cron tab. That's like a Linux. You can monitor that as well by unusual users, right? So it's always this unusual word. Then creation, alteration of launch agents that launch daemons. That sounds like mech. Then detects unusual use of cron or sleep loop inside containers. Unfamiliar scripts. It's always this unfamiliar what you need to look out for. So here, unusual, unfamiliar, that's the stuff you have to look out for. In bigger companies, people will tell you, I have no clue what is unfamiliar. And there's no satisfying answer to that. I mean, do your work in that company. get familiar then. That's the thing. But people always act like they have no idea what is running in their own environment, and that's unsatisfying, unfortunately. And also in bigger companies, in corporate structures, there is not one person that has a good overview over everything. Everybody has like a small department, and there's like a lot of scattered information everywhere, so it's really hard to find that one person that is responsible for scheduled tasks in that specific environment. You will find them. You will find them eventually, but they will not be giving you the full picture. So you will have to find a lot of people to get that familiar aspect going. That's really difficult. It's always the same thing, and people act like they are not. It's not their job to know that, and well, how can you tell them that it might be their job? They might be right about this. There might be another employee. But remember, if it's not your job, at least be capable to tell that other person whose job it is then. So if it's not your job, do you know the guy who might be responsible? Most often that guy quit the job or is on vacation. That's always how it goes. But yeah, that's the detection strategy. Difficult. Okay, difficult. It's based on unusual stuff. That's the thing. The technicalities are easy. Of course, you can monitor scheduled tasks, cron jobs, daemons, that cron and sleep functionalities, ESXi stuff here. You can monitor that from a technical perspective, but there are a lot of executions of these under correct circumstances. And as a SOC analyst, as a content creator for detection, um, it's really difficult to filter out the usual from the unusual at this point. You can only do that with the help of an administrator. Yeah, now let's take a look at the references. So who's writing? Microsoft, obviously, then Campbell, Serpent, no swiping. Then there's a Muhammad Unterbrink, a deep dive into Loki bot infection. We have Powersploit. We have another Microsoft page, and that's it. So the references are a bit weak. So there's not a single threat intelligence group. So yeah, I think there's potential for improvement here. But alright people, so far so good. So we have looked now at scheduled tasks, scheduled jobs. We know what it is. We know where to locate it in the adversary lifecycle. So it is persistence, execution, partially privilege escalation too. We have sub-techniques, we won't dig into them, so feel free to take a look at those yourself, only if you are really required to create a detection rule. So there's no point on a high level go over scheduled task. It will be the same story as here, with the sole difference that it will specifically go into scheduled task then. And also my idea that the research here might be enhanced, maybe it's wrong simply because the details might be sitting underneath here. It's very well possible. Yeah, we know a little bit about how to detect it. And the mitigation. Where's the mitigation? Did we overwrite the mitigation? I don't get it, but yeah guys, we might have overwritten the mitigation over here. Schedule task. Let's do it like this then. So that's fine. Mitigation is here now. Good that we looked. But yeah, mitigation we know is from audit to user account management. And detection strategy we take a look at a few references. I wish there were a little more. That's it for now. So as usual, thank you for watching, and thank you for spending time on cybersecurity. This might be very helpful. It's time well spent, and see you in the next video then. Goodbye.